So my name is Matthew. I work here at Tilma Parish at Glass Canvas, which is the company who created the Tilma platform. And I have, before that, I used to work for Parish as the youth ministry coordinator, and I also worked for the Archdiocese communications office. So I used Tilma in a couple different ways before coming to work over here in some parish contexts. And yeah, now I kind of help parishes with some support tasks and do some marketing, as well as develop new features of the product. So we're so excited. I think some people are here because it's your very first time on Tilma, and we're sort of welcoming you and getting you all up to speed. And then I think other people have maybe been on Tilma for a while, but just need a refresher on some of the tools. So for either of you, we're grateful that you're here with us today. I think we have some, oh, it's great. We have a parish from St. John's, Newfoundland, Columbus, Ohio, and I believe I recognize a couple names from here in Vancouver. And I believe we might have one or two joining us from New York as well, if I'm remembering the names. And West Vancouver, St. Anthony's, that's great. Yeah, with Father Gary over there. All right, so let's get started. Today's workshop is going to be about forms. And specifically, we're going to talk about event registration, donation forms, how to download your parishioner info from forms. And really my hope is so that for things that parishioners use to do regularly, even things like contact, baptism forms, religious education registration, is that Tilma can be a viable alternative to doing paperwork and hopefully save you some time so that you can use that time to put back into ministry and serving your parishioners. So I'm going to walk through a couple of those features on forms, and then at the end, I'd love to hear any questions or any specific things that you're trying to do with forms that I'd be able to help with. Okay, so I'm going to navigate over here to the forms tool. If you see, it's on the left under content, under forms. And I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new form here, and I'm just going to walk through some of the scenarios. So for this one, I'm going to create a form for, let's do baptism registration. So someone contacts the parish office for baptism, and you need a form to sort of do an intake of, who the godparents are and when the child was born and those sort of things. So I'm going to create the title of the form here. And I'm just going to walk through all the different settings so you can know what they all do. So this checkbox here, if you click this off, it means someone has to log in to their Tilma account if they would like to view the form. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So you can see in the top right corner here, you can see that I'm logged in. So only people who have created an account first can go and use the form. So if you're using Tilma as your parish's database, you probably want to do that. But if you're not, like for example, for an event, I probably wouldn't require this because I want to make it as hassle-free as possible. So in most cases, most parishes don't click this unless they really want to encourage parishioners to register. Next is I'm going to select the email that I want. So if I want to get an email every time this form is submitted, I can put my email in there. And if I want to email 2 people, I can just make a comma, space, and I can also choose someone else that I want to email there. Okay, so I'm just going to put myself for now, but if you wanted to do 2 people, you could just do a comma. And then I got 2 sections here. So the thank you page is after someone registers, we can give them a little message. So you can say, thank you for registering. We will be in touch soon. And you can also have a confirmation email. So I always recommend having a confirmation email because really what it does is people who fill out your form, it gives them the assurance that you received it. Otherwise, they're not sure if something technical happened, and it kind of just goes out into a black void. So we want to make sure that they know that we got it. So maybe we could say, thank you for registering. We're so happy you've decided to register. We'll be in touch soon. And then also what the confirmation email automatically does is it will give them a copy of their responses. So that automatically happens, but you could say like a copy of your responses are below. And you could add some other things if you want. You can make a list, for example, like there's some other neat things that you can do in the email, but for the most part, it's pretty basic, pretty simple. Okay. This field here, don't worry about it. This is because I'm an admin, I get an extra field here, but you won't have that on here. So that's why I ignored it. So now I'm going to head over to the editor tab. And this is where I actually can create the form. So let's go through each one of these buttons and make sure that we understand what they all mean. So let's start with single line text. So if I click single line text, I have the option here to label what I want it to say. And I can choose a few different types of text. So I always make sure every form has an email, because if I don't include an email, how can the person receive a confirmation email, right? So I always make sure I have an email field, because that's how Tilma knows. And then what I can do is check off this little button here, and it can make it required. So they have to fill it out. And if I really wanted to, I could also add a help text. So that's just like something to help them out if they don't, but email I feel like is pretty clear. Most people, obviously they know what that means. So I'll go ahead and click save. And now I also want to include their name. So instead of using single line text, there's actually a dedicated name field here. And what makes that so great is I'm going to do name of child to be baptized. Okay. And there's a few different things here that I can check off. So display label means that you can see it shows the title up here, which is perfect. If I turn that off, you can see that it disappears. So I'm going to do that. You could do who is the child being baptized? And you can see that kind of appears in small text up here if you wanted to do that. You could add a Mr. or Mrs. like little section here. And what that does is when someone's filling it out, they can choose some different options there, but that doesn't really make sense for a child. And then you can choose, when you download this as an Excel sheet or as a CSV file, do you want the first and last name to be in the same column? Or do you prefer them having one column for first name and one column for last name? So if you want separate columns, you can click that off. And then we'll make it required. Okay. Now we can add a few more things here. So let's go single line text. We could add a phone number of parents. Let's make that required. And we could also have a multiple choice option here. So multiple choice, I don't know a good one for baptism, but maybe I'm going to ask for t-shirt size. I know we don't really need that for baptism, but maybe for something else. So what you can do is you can add options, small, medium, large. That sounds good. And then there's some different options that we can do. So if we want them to do multiple options, like a checkbox, we could do that. And this is what multiple options looks like, is you could use checkboxes, but we obviously only want them to choose one option. So usually I do a radio button, right? So you can see they can now they can only choose one of the options. And there's some other options. You could do a drop down. Drop down looks like this, right? Or you could do a button. I'll show you what the buttons look like. Buttons look like this. So sometimes I use button for something like gender or a yes or no, right? If it's just something simple. So yeah, multiple choice is great because it helps when the person's filling out the form. They don't need to type their answer small or medium. It just makes it so easy for the person filling out the form, and you're more likely to get a good response. So that's what I like to do. And you can add some other things like, let's do date. Let's do birth date of child, and you can choose what year. So probably this year, we think most babies are born. You could also add a start and end date. You could ask for a time, but we don't need any of that. So let's just keep it how it is. And then let's just drop through some of the other options here, just so we know what else Tilma can do. So we have multi-line text. Multi-line text is where it's like a paragraph. So instead of asking for 1 or 2 words, you want them to type out a few sentences. So we could do a section for comments or questions. And we could make the text area large. We could set a maximum limit. So, we only want 1,000 characters so that they don't type too much. And we could make it required, but usually comments are optional. So I'll just keep it like that. And then you can see on the form here, the comments or questions is here, they can type that. So it's just a little space for them to write something bigger. Okay, let's just go through a few of the other options here. So another one is image or file upload. So some forms, you could ask them to submit a photo of themselves. So let's say, I don't know. I know I've seen one parish before, they ask for people to submit events to them, or you want to put a photo in the bulletin, for example. You could have a photo submission here, or a file submission. So you could choose if you want it to be an image or just a file. So this is a photo submission. So let's make it an image upload. This will make sure that no one is uploading anything harmful to your website. They can only upload files that are approved, like a JPEG or PNG. And then someone can go and upload a photo if they click this button. And then you would be able to get that photo. And let's see the other one. So you could also add an address. And there's some other options here. You could hide the country. You could separate the address field. So you could make the whole address in one column, or you could separate, street, city, state, that sort of thing. So let's add that. And next thing is heading and paragraph. So heading and paragraph is not something that you submit, but it's something that you can make your form more organized. So for example, you could have like godparents info. And then under godparents info, you could have godparent names. And godparent phone. So you can see I kind of made a section here, and then for a paragraph, you could show each godparent must be a practicing Catholic and 18 years or older, something like that. And you could add a little bit of info here so that people know what the requirements for a godparent. So it's just more information you can include for people to read. It's not something people submit, it's something that you can just put on your form. And otherwise, you could also do some things to organize your form better. So there's a horizontal rule here. And a horizontal rule is just a little line. You can see the little divider, or you could also just add a space. So you could put a little space so that it's just easier to navigate the form. So you can see this field here is a space. And lastly, there's a few other things we can add to our form. So subscription opt-in is, we also have like Tilma's email tool over here. So for subscription opt-in, you can basically grow your parish's email list, which is great. So you can give people the option to sign up for emails. So they can opt in or out. So if you want them to sign, they have to sign up, but here you can give them the option. You can check it by default, and you can say, what do you want them to subscribe to? And there's a few lists here that you can choose. So let's say we want them to subscribe to announcements. Save. And you can see when you look at it, they go to the bottom, they can say, do you want to sign up for announcements? And they can check this if they want to subscribe, or uncheck it if they don't. And lastly, we have two other fields here, payment and donation and custom parts. So I'm going to do payment and donation later. But let's see now how this form looks. So I have a different baptism registration, which I made earlier, which is oh, this is the ugly one. Here's the maybe nicer one here. So first name, child's name. This is a really simple one. And now let's add this baptism form to a page. So how we add the form, so just a few things about the baptism form before we go. So if you want to ever look at a preview of it, you can click this view live button here to see what it looks like. or you can go to the top here and you can update or delete. So I'm going to go ahead and update this one here. And now this is how I add it to a page. I go to content, pages. Let's make a new page called baptism registration. Okay. And let's go to the editor tool. And I'm going to do this quick insert here over to insert form. After I click on that insert form button, I see all my forms here. And I have two because I have my one that I made today and my one that I made last week. So I forget which is which. So that's okay. Okay, it was my one from today. That's okay. So there's my form there. You can see it's been inserted, and we can add anything else to this page. You know, we can add some words to the end. Thank you for, you know, so we can do more. We can do anything we want on the page. We can add other things. And then after we're ready with this form, we can click publish here. And actually, before I do publish, oopsie. You know what? I think I did something goofy with this page. This is my fault. Because this template should be default, I believe. Let's say 2, just so I know it's the right one. Okay. You know, something goofy is happening here because I'm using a different version of, this is my demo website and it's not configured properly. So bear with me, but just understand that when you click on that, you should be able to see the page properly as it was, okay? But that's how you would add it to a page. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show how to do an event registration, okay? So let's do event registration. And I'm going to skip all this because we talked about that already. So usually for an event, we always ask for people's name, their email. I'm going to click email here. And this time I'm going to ask for a few other things. I'm going to ask for their, this time I'm going to ask for their meal options. How's that? So for meal options, I'm going to do regular meal. I'm going to do vegetarian meal, and I'm going to say no meal. I will provide my own. So here's a great example of something neat that Tilma can do. For a regular meal, we're going to add, let's say, what, $5, a nice cheap meal for them. Same for vegetarian. But if they have no meal, I'm going to change this to $0. Now, what I can do is I can use this as my payment field. If I click down here, works with amount field, I can turn this on. And then I can also going to do adds to amount instead of setting overriding. So I also want to do that. I'll show you why later. And I need to require this field. And they can only do a single selection or radio selection. So this one is $5, $5 and $0. And I have all my amounts set up properly. Oh, you know what I should do is I should also add $5 here so people can understand how much they're saying it costs, okay? And then I'm going to do a payment here. So when I set up payments, I'm going to do registration fee. And this is not a donation, it's a fee that I'm processing. So I'm going to turn off the donation. And the registration for this event, let's say it's $20. And we only want them to pay once. We don't want to make this a monthly or subscription or anything like that. Quantity here is if you can ask them if you're selling, I don't know, donuts or something, you could say, how many donuts do you want to buy? And, you know, they can choose, but event registration is only one. So let's do that. And you can see it kind of shows like that there. And then on mine, because I don't have, because this demo website is not set up with, what do you call it? So there's no payment info set up. There's a little credit card field that's missing here. So we could use that credit card field and we could add that in there. And then for this custom part section, because this is an event, I'm going to add this event custom part. And what that event custom part does is it just tells Tilma that this registration form is for an event. And what that can do is it will track registration for in the people tool and in the events tool. And it just marks this as an event, and all the language around this field will be more event unique for an event. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at this. So it says you'll be charged $20 because that's the registration fee. And look here, if I go regular meal, it will add 20, it'll be 25. But if I say no meal, it will go back down to $20 there. Okay, so there's my simple event registration. So I'm going to go ahead and click update here on the top. And there she is there. If I ever want to edit this, I can just click on that, or I can also look at the registration here. You can see Tilma automatically fills in the information for my account, which is actually really cool since I'm logged in. So now let's go to the events tool over here. Let's add this. So let's make an event really quick. Oops. So let's do sample event here. We can assign it to a ministry and all that good stuff. I'm going to make this event for tomorrow. Let's make this event a workshop. And the event details, we can add a photo, a ticket price. So this ticket is $20 or $25 with lunch. We need to assign a location. And now let's go down to this registration field. So registration, we want to use Tilma for our registration, and we can assign a registration form here. So let's click on that, and you can see here are all my forms, and here's the one I just made. And now I can click when I want registration to automatically close. So let's say today at 5 p.m. automatically close. And you can set the custom, you can make it sign up. What do you want the button to say when they register? If you say nothing, it'll just be register, which is fine. And now let's just write some info about this event. Please register for this exciting event. And let's publish the event. So now let's see what it looks like for our parishioners. So you can see, I don't think there's an event column here. That's okay. Okay, so I'm going to go up to the top here and click events. Here's my sample events. There's no photo because I didn't add one. That's okay. Here's my lovely sample event. And then I have this nice register button over here. So as I said, at 5 p.m., this will automatically close. And you know what? I shouldn't have added an extra $sign there. It looks like there's two. Oh, that's kind of funny. But I'm going to click this register button here, and here is the registration for my event. So you can see I'm not logged in, but if I was, my name and email would automatically be filled in. And you can tell that I also don't have a credit card field because this demo parish doesn't have one. But after I click submit, it'll give me this thank you, and it will send me an email over there, which is great. So that is lovely. So now let's do one more example of a possible form we can create. So the next form we're going to do is a donation form. So let's do a donation to St. Vincent de Paul, which is a like a soup kitchen that they use at my parish. So for the donation, we can create a few things. We can put the donor name. We should really put the donor email so that we can send them a receipt. And let's make that required. And then we can make a few options. So when we go to the donation section here, there's a lot of different things. So let's turn on donation, and we can make a few options for this donor. We can say, we can give them an option to be a one-time donor, or we can give them an option to be a monthly donor, or we can give them the option to be a quarterly donor. Sure, why not? And then there's a few other options here. One is that we can let the donor select the payments that they want to do. I'll show you what I mean by that. or you can also set a fixed end date. So we can say that, you know, to be a monthly donor, but after December, then the payments stop. So, but no, we want this donation to be, if they do monthly, we want it to be forever unless they cancel. So let's turn that off. And you can say you only want donations to be minimum $10, let's say. So I'll show you how this donation form works. Show you what it looks like. So this person can choose if they want to do one time, monthly, or quarterly. So let's say they do monthly, and they can do $25. So $25 every month if they do one time, quarterly. That's how the donor can choose. Okay. Cool. Oh, let's close this option here. Here's a few other options we can do for the donor. We can let the user set payment counts. So I'll show you what that means. User sets total. Oh, I'll show you what that means in a second. So this is what it looks like. Oh, I think I already did that payment counts thing before. Okay, let's do the other option then. The user sets payment counts. So if the user sets the payment count, what that means is if they donate, let's say $100, and they want to do it quarterly, you know, they can have 13 payments every 3 months for 3.25 years, that sort of thing, right? So you could choose that you want to do quarterly payments of 5 payments or monthly payments for 4 months, and you know, they can divide it up of the total rather than one by one. So that's kind of some cool donor options here. And you can also set an end date. So, you know, if you only want it to be until the end of the year or something, you could do that, for example. Okay, and you can set a minimum here so that no one can donate less than $10. So look here, if they do one, it says, oh, it has to be more than $10. We won't accept anything under that. So there's some neat donor options for you. And after you save, you can go to a page here, new page, and St. Vincent. You know, you could do actually even better. Let's go to a ministry. So let's go to a ministry here. You know, there's no St. Vincent de Paul, so let's just use Knights of Columbus as an example. And here on the Knights of Columbus page, we could do add a donation section. Please donate. Let's make this a heading. And we click the quick insert tool and we go over to the insert form button here. And let's add our donation form. And there it is. Let's click update. Now let's look at what this Knights of Columbus. And then see, I don't think it showed the other fields because because this is a demo parish, I don't have that credit card field because we're not actually accepting payments on this example site. So that's why it's missing, but you can see the form shows nicely there. And then when you donate, it says, thank you. So that is it. Lastly, I'm going to show you one last thing here, and then I'll take some questions. So I'm going to go over to forms. I'm going to show you how to actually view the submissions. So, oh, this one's blank. Let's see the other one. Okay, here we go. So I went over to St. Vincent de Paul, this donation form I just made, and there's a few things we can do now. Is we can go over to submissions and we can look at each submission. So we can click on this name and we can see all the information about this person. It says, oh, we got this donation 1 minute ago from this person's name for this much, and we can delete it or we can exit. And then, or what we can do is we can download all submissions. So if I click this button here, what will happen is it will email me the CSV file or the Excel sheet of all the submissions, which is really great, really easy. And yeah, so this one only has one person, but if it didn't, it wouldn't show that. And last, I just want to show you something kind of neat about the people tool here. I don't know if this will work properly, but if I go to the activity section of my account, you can see under my account, you can see under the form submissions, it says Matthew, he submitted his St. Vincent de Paul form. You click on it and you can see the responses that I gave. So this is actually really neat because this is how the form tool just interacts with all the other tools on Tilma. So you could keep track of, which parishioners filled out the baptism sheet or which parishioners filled out really any form or what event. If any parishioners registered for an event, you could see that they did there and that kind of thing. And you could use that in the email tool and you can email people who filled out the form. I'll show everyone that real quick. So we can even go to this event here and we can email everyone who registered for that event. And you can see one person registered, that was me. So, so you can see the form tool kind of works across a few different other platforms here.